Well, welcome back to Core 52. We're glad you're joining us for week 9. We're talking about finding happiness today. If you've read the essay, then you know it talks a lot about what makes us happy, specifically chemically, and I'm not talking about the chemicals that we sometimes go after. Joining us today is Raquel. She is our connections pastor here at the church. She is doing an amazing job for us. She is loved and threatened by lots of people. I'm just kidding.
They threaten me or I threaten them?
Yes. No, nobody threatens you. Nobody threatens you.
That's right.
No. So Raquel's going to talk to us a little bit today about finding happiness, how we find happiness, what we do in the pursuit of happiness. So Raquel, would you share a little bit with us about what you think people pursue happiness for? Like, what are the things people think will make them happy?
I think that people think that things that make them happy are relationships, things. I really think it's materialistic things. I think that people do not realize what true happiness is.
I would agree with that. I think a lot of us, myself included at times, my wife included at times, I don't know anybody that at particular times of life don't think money is going to make me happy. What's the meme I see all the time on the internet that says, if you don't think money makes you happy, well, money can buy a jet ski, and have you ever seen anybody frowning on a jet ski? I get that. That makes sense. But at the same time, the money itself doesn't make anybody happy. Anytime I've seen anybody with a lot of money who is happy, they're happy because of the relationships that they have in life, not necessarily because their bank account has a certain number in it. That may give us a sense of security, but I don't think security is what always brings us happiness. So what was your idea, before reading the essay, what was your idea of happiness? What was your idea of God wants me to be happy?
I struggled for a long time believing that God wanted me to be happy. I grew up in a different faith, and in that faith, somewhere along the lines I picked up that obedience was what was going to make me happy. And because I wasn't obedient, I know this is hard to believe, but I haven't always been the angelic person that I am now. And it actually wasn't until I started attending Aldersgate and learned that the Lord wants to have a relationship with me that I found true happiness. That it was because of who He is in me that I desired to be obedient. It wasn't because I needed to be obedient so that He would want me. Yeah. And so that really hit me in this chapter.
We tend to flip those.
Yes, absolutely.
So what was it when you say that you found happiness through the Lord? Can you elaborate on that a little bit? You were seeking it out through obedience, trying to be obedient to find happiness, but you found that the Lord brings you happiness. Explain how that kind of works for you.
So in the past, we've had these sets of rules that we had to follow, the law of the Lord, and name it and I broke it. I mean, that's what I do. You give me a rule and I'm going to break it every single time. And so when I came into a relationship with the Lord, it was about Him seeking out after me and wanting to love all the things about me that make me me, all the ugly, all the broken, everything. And being okay with being happy that I'm a messed up person. And He loves that about me. And Him just giving me confidence to say it's okay to be happy. It's okay to be broken. It's okay to break some rules. I love you enough to get you through all that. So
I actually had a conversation with my son in the car this morning on the way to school, and we were talking about one of his friends who's going through some pretty tough times at home, and how her parents are not, they don't jive with some of the decisions that she's making. And I just had to explain to him, all parents, we struggle in a lot of different areas.
Absolutely.
Always wanting our kids to be happy, right? Wanting to take care of them, wanting to make sure that they're on the right track. And we make mistakes, and sometimes we overreact and we do certain things. But I just really wanted to drive home to him, hey, it doesn't matter what you choose in life, you're still my son. And I will lay my life down for you like that. It doesn't matter if we agree on whatever it is we're having the conversation about. We don't have to agree. We can love each other beyond that. And I think that for him hopefully brings him a sense of security, which brings him happiness. Yes. I mean, I'm a messed up parent. I screw up all the time. And
preach.
And he said today, he was telling his friend that they were talking about their parents and the differences in their parents. And his comment was, yeah, I have awesome parents. And I think Amy and I would both go, really? We don't feel like awesome parents most of the time. But whatever we're doing is making him understand that we love him no matter what, which brings that happiness. He talks a lot in the essay about the three chemicals. Can you name the three chemicals that he talks about?
Yes, oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine.
And dopamine. And how those all trigger different happiness responses in our brain. Temporary and short-lived. And so the long-term effects are when you're doing little things at a time. The one that I love that he talked about was serving people. How serving somebody else, putting your wants or needs to the side, can bring some of that happiness. If you know anything about the Enneagram, then you will know that A2, like my friend here,
yes, I am.
They do that all the time. And I think, and can you explain a little bit how that brings happiness for you?
So as an Enneagram 2, and in this journey this year that I've gone with the Enneagram, I'm learning so much about myself. I love to serve people. I love to give people hugs. I love to just bring smiles to people. And I don't know what it is that it just gives me this joy. And it's temporary. But it just gives me a joy to know that sometimes someone, all they need is a hug. All they need is a good job. All they need is a high five. And we have the power to do that. And I have the power to do it because who Christ is in me. And he designed this mess. And he designed me to be exactly who he wanted me to be. And to some people, it's great. And for some people, it's not. And that's okay. They're wrong, but whatever. But just being able to serve others and put myself aside, I mean, I don't know. It just brings my heart so much joy. I love it.
Yeah. What are some of the places that people tend to find destructive choices in pursuing happiness? What are some of the places that you've seen in life where people have chosen things that actually bring them more harm than happiness?
Oh, you're just going to call me out on all my sins, right? Right?
I'm saying people, other people.
I saw you look at me. I would say probably with substance abuses, food. There are so many things that we can fill that gap with. Relationships that probably aren't healthy for us, codependency. The list goes on and on. I mean, there's just so many things that we can, and it's all temporary. Yeah. It's all a temporary happiness.
But it does release those same chemicals in that moment. I think you talk about substance abuse. A lot of the things that people abuse substance-wise cause those same triggers chemically in our brain to trigger happiness, right? But they actually lead to destruction rather than to building life. And the things that we talk about, like serving others and loving other people, brings the same chemical drip, but it causes us to have to put ourselves aside and not walk in selfishness, but walk in selflessness. What are some places for you? We play this game with my kids, so you're going to be one of my kids right now.
You know how I feel if I lose games.
No, it's not a game. It's a game.
Okay,
I ask a lot in the car on the way home, like, what was your high-low? We talk about this as a family. Just tell me in the last week, give me a high and give me a low for you as far as like happiness goes.
Recently, we had the event IF for women in our church and our community, and it was a great time for women just to come together and celebrate the Lord and celebrate who the Lord is calling them to be. The focus this year was all about Jesus, and so in that, I had several women come to me who are hurting, who are struggling with things, some women that are celebrating victories. And so for me, it's just a high. It gives me the opportunity to love on them. It gives me the opportunity to just sit with them, to pray over them. And so that's definitely been a high for me recently. And a low for me is, I would probably say the same thing. For myself, an Enneagram 2, I tend to carry the hurts and the things that women carry, and even some men in my life that they carry. And so in my transition of finding true happiness is learning how to release those things and allow God to take care of those things, because at the end of the day, I really can't do anything. I can be a listening ear, I can pray for my sisters and brothers, and I can love on them, but I can't fix anything.
Yeah, that's true. We can't be the end-all be-all for anybody. We can't be the end-all be-all for somebody's happiness. And in a lot of ways, I can't be somebody's happiness. That has to come from inside them and going after the things that the Lord has. So, Raquel, thank you for sharing with us today. We're glad you're with us. We're so glad that you're on our staff. We love the way you love people and that you bring happiness to them. So glad that y'all are with us. Join us again next week. Memorize your verses, check in with us, and comment down below.